Hi, it's Divya G. What does the G stand for? The G stands for gonna run out of words soon with this introduction that may work in the short run, but it is wholly unsustainable in the long run, but my myopic self just didn't see that.
Economics, yeah. Woo.
Boop. Divya, a film critic, best believe it, son. As a sane, not that rich South Asian, I wanted to talk about crazy rich Asians today and how Henry Golding's abs are really shifting the paradigm of Hollywood. Subscribe. Branded as the rebirth of the rom-com and based off the book, which I didn't read, by Kevin Kwan, Crazy Rich Asians, we follow a Chinese American economics professor named Rachel Chu, played by Scarlett Johansson, as she meets the family of her boyfriend Nick Young, who is, unbeknownst to her, a crazy rich Asian. Aww. He is one of the wealthiest families in Singapore. The fact that an economics professor living in the 21st century wouldn't just, search up his Instagram, why she wouldn't do that? When I first saw this poster, I full ass thought that Ryan Higa has gone and done and landed himself a role in like a major film, and I was like, wow. Are they really just casting any Asian for just all roles? But tell me that this doesn't look like Ryan Higa, just like a little bit. So this is actually the first film where we see an all-Asian cast in a sort of Hollywood studio production since 1993, alright? I think it was called the Joy Luck Club, but wow, it is 2018, borderline 2019, and it has taken us like 30, yeah, nearly like 30 years. Math. So from Quantico to All the Boys I've Loved Before to now Crazy Rich Asians, we're starting to see a little bit of the Asian persuasion. I'm actually reviewing something that I like for once. Wow! Amazing! I know! I've just come a long way in my character development arc. So it's a rom-com, right? So obviously we're gonna have these exaggerated extravagances, witty one-liners, and it's a little slightly bit soppy, and they do tout on this cliche of, the wealthy, rich East Asian family. But it is refreshing, okay? It's like me refreshing the page when I'm trying to get ticket concerts, but they're all sold out. True story. I'm so triggered by Hayley Kiyoko, Ticketmaster. I wanted to talk to you about why I connected with this movie, okay? There's a lot that I actually liked for once. Wow! A little bit of a backstory. If you have watched my previous videos, you may or may not have deduced by now with all my Chapal references, but I'm a South Asian that looks East Asian who also lived in East Asia but has a sort of American accent and grew up in Britain. So basically, I'm a cultural mess. So Rachel in this movie, so she's she's Asian, right? But she's Chinese American and she grew up in America. And there's this one scene, without spoiling, where she talks to her mother and her mother says something like, on the outside you look Asian, but inside you're still you're different, right? There's even a scene where she's called a banana because she's, yellow on the outside but white on the inside. Me, except the banana's a little bit more brown, a little bit moldy, a little bit caught up and a little bit sweaty. Oh god. And we see this touching moment on screen where Rachel is really alienated and ostracized, and she's kind of othered, and it's because she's from a completely different cultural background, because she's only had her mom growing up her entire life versus there's like a scene where you see it really come into full effect, where she describes how, you know, growing up she's only had her mom her entire life, you know, it's quite like a small family, versus this very Asian family setting where family is, you know, the most important thing. And you see like all like the grandparents, the grandchildren, you know, aunts, uncles, this, you know, my 60th cousin, you know, the cousin's dog, the cousin's dog's dog, like the cousin's cousin. You get my point. I think from growing up in England and losing parts of my culture, like I try and fit in with people from, you know, my background really hard, but I'm also not fully integrated into sort of either society. You know, I can't speak my language. I can't communicate with, you know, my relatives or my grandparents. Like, my last 3 brain cells, when I'm trying to translate an English sentence into Nepali, it will translate it into Spanish, like, whilst my relatives are all going, you know, namaste, namaste, my brain's going hola. But you know, my blood, my roots, the placenta, you know, it's all from my country. And my friend Mina had an Instagram caption. I'll try and find it, but I was just like, yikes, this is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. Gonna live. Boop. And the caption was, a tourist in my own city and a foreigner in my own town. And I was like, wow, that's deep, fam. And I feel like Rachel embodied this, even if it was just for a little bit. Because growing up, I've kind of unconsciously almost rejected my own culture and felt embarrassed or ashamed. And I feel like it's partly to do with the media growing up and just knowing that I was kind of so like different to other people. I mean, there were points in my life where I used to fully just want to be white. I'm gonna do a therapy session with Divya. Okay. Although, you know, these are East Asians, you know, they're not representing me, they're not representing anyone, and I can't really relate to their lifestyle. I still felt a sort of sense of collective like ownership. I just think it's like the little sort of like cultural quirks in the movie. So there's this representation of family gossip, text messages spreading at like 100 miles per hour like throughout the culture, and like if that ain't my parents chatting to literally every aunt, uncle, and like 60th cousin about my problems. And there's also this like exploration of marriage as a means of protecting your sort of like socio-economic status and class. And there's this one joke where she goes, you know, I thought red was a lucky color. And then they reply, yeah, if you're an envelope. And it was witty, but I feel like it also really highlights this sort of racial and ethnic disconnect. I mean, I like Rachel, you know, she was brave, she was smart, she was doing bits, she was an economics professor, and she was independent, but like you could tell she wasn't enough for this family. Without spoiling too much, she makes a decision towards the end, which I thought was so commendable, because even though she's facing like the main barrier to her and Nick's relationship is this mother, right, who's sort of like the micromanager, and she said that Americans are opportunistic in the sense that they put their own passions and their own feelings ahead of family importance versus like their culture. And Rachel kind of went against the stereotype, and she does the opposite, and she did something incredibly selfless. And your weak bitch literally cried in a rom-com. Yeah, that's me. I just think it's really nice to see Asians on screen, because growing up I've always wanted to act, but I mean, people I know have told me, you know what, look in the mirror, because you might act like you're from, you know, a certain area, from, you know, these ends, and you might have like a certain passport, but inside you always be yellow, you know. maybe that's why it matches my aesthetic. I mean, it's been criticized because people say it's not like wholly representative of all of Asia or like Singapore in terms of there being more than just sort of like the Chinese Singaporean, but it is also a fictitious, exaggerated rom-com. Like, why are we holding crazy rich Asians to these impossible standards of representing all of Asia? You wouldn't say that like Mr. Bean is the ultimate representation of Europe. I mean, I feel like maybe one day we'll have sort of like different stories to be told, and I'm excited for those days, but for now I feel like it's just nice to see like that we're slowly seeing more familiar faces, and you know, maybe we'll shy away from this stereotype of, you know, IT tech support. There's this one quote said by Constance where she said, "It's why I advocate so much for young Asian American girls so they might not spend their life feeling small or being commanded to feel grateful to even be at the table." And it's like, yes, you're so right. Like, why should I have to applaud you just for like putting a minority character in a film? Okay, so that was the deep therapy session. Other notes that I want to mention. Aquafina, legend. High key, we all want to talk about Henry Golding's abs. Okay, high key. Nick Young is the Asian Noah Centineo, and yeah, now that I've put that image in your head, it will never get out of your head. You're welcome. Henry Golding's abs. How are his abs shifting the paradigm of Hollywood, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you how. Okay, so people not finding Asians hot is an actual thing. Pierre and Henry's abs, you know, whilst they're very commendable in their own majestic, sculpted right, they're also showing like Asian bodies to a sort of Western audience, and in terms of like the Western Hollywood context, that, you know, they can be desirable also in a sort of scope where a lot of Asians typically in a role will be like minorities in terms of here, the bellboy, the shopkeeper, or like the nerd, or in the IT tech support. She's called Astrid, and her story arc was something that I really like because she you know, brought home the bacon essentially in her relationship, and she has this sort of realization moment where she's like, she shouldn't be made to feel ashamed because of where she's from, and I think it was important in showcasing this sort of power in a different right, and I love it when she realized, you know what, boo, just because your masculinity is fragile doesn't mean I have to put up with your BS. And I was like, yes. So yeah, those are my last 3 brain cells' thoughts on crazy rich Asians. And if you're wondering, Divya, what is this room? What is this background? I live in a house now. It's not my house, I'm obviously renting, but I'm in uni, which means bad upload schedule. One day I'll do a room tour, but next time there'll be something there. I want to do something creative, but let me just show you my typical art hall room. Okay, just a little sneak peek for all the loyal fans who watch until the end of the video. Wow. Okay, so obviously I have my typical Kangen, and I literally go to Poundland and stick leaves on the walls. Just watch when I peel it off and the paint comes off, and I'll have to pay, but it's worth it for the aesthetic. Yeah, that's me, and also you don't have to be Asian to watch this, or crazy, or rich. I don't know, let me know what you thought about this movie. Did you think it was overhyped? Once again, it is late in the night, and I'm out here creating art. Something only geniuses and creatives do, you know, we strike with the inspiration in the night. It's some of our best work. Anyway, okay, good night. Bye. It is actually so cold and I forgot a blanket, right? I don't have a blanket. This is all I have. I'm literally sleeping in... Okay, no one cares.